No one could handle the billionaire's daughter until the janitor did the impossible. For the fifth night running, sleep just wouldn't come for Alara. As the daughter of billionaire Conrad Sterling, she had everything money could possibly buy, but she couldn't get a single moment of peace from a trauma that haunted her in silence. Doctors, gurus, you name it, they'd all flown in from around the world, taken their fat checks, and left her with nothing but empty promises. The massive Sterling estate, a marvel of modern design, had become her gilded cage. Its cold marble floors and giant windows only reflected a life of incredible privilege and even greater loneliness. As another sleepless dawn broke, painting the sky in shades of gray and pink, she found herself wandering the quiet halls. It was the only time the house felt truly still, free from the buzz of the staff and the heavy weight of expectation. And it was there, in the quietest hour before the sun came up, that she saw him, the new janitor. He was humming a simple, forgotten tune while he polished the floors. And in her desperation, she was about to do something that would change both of their lives forever. So, who was Alara Sterling really? To the world, she was the ultimate paradox. Beautiful, wealthy, and set to inherit an empire, making her an object of total envy. But on the inside, she was a prisoner, trapped by a memory she couldn't quite see, a shadow that had fallen over her life years ago and simply refused to leave. It showed up as a crippling insomnia and an anxiety so deep that no amount of therapy, pills, or fancy wellness retreats could even touch it. Her father, Conrad, a man who could bend global markets to his will, was completely powerless to stop his own daughter's suffering. He just threw money at the problem like it was another business deal, flying in so-called experts who whispered about trauma responses and sleep hygiene. They gave her pills that left her feeling groggy but never rested, and therapies that had her talking in circles around a wound she couldn't even find. Nothing ever worked. The loneliness was suffocating. Her friends, all children of other dynasties, couldn't understand a pain that wasn't tied to a falling stock price or a bad headline. They saw her exhaustion and pale skin as her just not trying hard enough. Her father saw it as a flaw in his perfect world, another problem to be managed and hidden away. The mansion, with its army of staff, felt less like a home and more like a museum, and Alara was its most fragile, untouchable exhibit. Every night was a battle she knew she'd lose, and every morning she put on a mask of calm that got heavier with each passing day. She watched him from the shadows of the grand staircase. The man was a bit older, maybe in his early 40s, and there was a quiet focus in the way he moved. He wasn't just cleaning, there was a genuine care in his work, a rhythm that felt peaceful. But it was the sound that completely captivated her, a soft, melodic humming. It was a simple tune, a lullaby that tugged at the edges of her memory, feeling both familiar and impossibly far away. It was the sound of comfort, like a warm blanket in a freezing room. An impulse, born from 5 nights of pure desperation, took over. Alara floated down the stairs, her bare feet making no sound on the marble. The janitor, whose name tag read Leo, looked up, his eyes going wide with surprise. The billionaire's daughter, practically a myth in the household, was standing right in front of him in the pre-dawn silence. He stopped humming instantly, his back straightening as if he had just been caught breaking a major rule. "Please," Alara's voice was a raw whisper. "Don't stop." "Ma'am?" "The song," she explained, stepping a little closer. "The one you were humming. What is it?" He seemed thrown by the question. "Oh, it's nothing, ma'am, just an old tune my grandmother used to sing. It helps the time pass." Tears pricked Alara's eyes, a feeling so unfamiliar it stung. Could you hum it again? For me?" It was a crazy request, breaking every rule that separated their two worlds. He was the staff, she was the heir. But looking into her eyes, seeing an exhaustion that went beyond a simple command, Leo didn't see a billionaire's daughter. He saw a person drowning in pain. He hesitated for just a second before he nodded. Leaning his mop against a pillar, he started to hum again in the vast, empty hall. Ilara sank onto the bottom steps of the staircase and pulled her knees to her chest. She closed her eyes and just listened. The simple melody wrapped around her, slowly untangling the tight knots of anxiety in her mind. It was like a key turning a lock buried deep inside her. Her chest started to lift, and right there, on the cold marble steps of her lonely palace, Ilara Sterling fell asleep.
When Ilara woke up, sunlight was streaming through the windows. Leo was gone. But for the first time in what felt like a lifetime, she felt the deep, healing peace of real sleep. That night, she didn't wait for desperation to force her hand. She went looking for him. She found Leo in a quiet wing of the estate, dusting the books in the library. A silent deal was made. Every night, for just an hour, he would sit with her in the dimly lit library and hum. Sometimes he'd sing the words in a soft, gentle voice. As the nights turned into weeks, the silence between them was replaced by conversation. Ilara learned that Leo was a widower, a former musician who gave up on his own dreams to pay for his late wife's medical bills. Now he was working to put his little sister through college. He talked about a simple life, one filled with small joys and quiet dignity. Most importantly, Leo never treated her like she was special. He couldn't care less about the Sterling name. He saw the sad girl hiding behind all the money and talked to her, not her status. He'd ask about her day, gently tease her when she was being overly dramatic, and he would listen, truly listen, when she talked about the emptiness she felt. He saw her. For Ilara, that was more healing than any therapy could ever be. The change was impossible to miss. Color came back to her face. A real smile started to appear. Her father, Conrad, was relieved, but also deeply suspicious. It wasn't long before his security team told him his daughter was spending her nights with a janitor. Furious, Conrad stormed in and confronted Ilara. He forbade her from seeing Leo again, calling him a nobody and an opportunist. The fight was brutal, with Conrad threatening to fire Leo and make sure he never worked in the city again. That fight with her father sent Ilara spiraling right back down. The old anxiety came roaring back, even stronger this time. The idea of losing the one person who had finally brought her some peace was just too much. As her father yelled, his words dripping with contempt for Leo, something inside Ilara just snapped. The lullaby, it wasn't just some tune. It was the song her childhood nanny used to sing to her. A warm, kind woman who had been her only comfort in a cold, sterile childhood. A woman who was suddenly fired after a small accident that Ilara was blamed for. The trauma wasn't just the accident, it was the sudden, unexplained loss of the only person who made her feel safe, replaced by the cold indifference of her powerful parents. Her insomnia was just a long, unending cry for a comfort that had been ripped away from her. The realization hit her like a punch. She collapsed, gasping for air as a full-blown panic attack took over. Conrad froze, his anger vanishing, replaced by pure fear and helplessness. All his power, all his money, it was all useless. Just then, Leo, who had been cleaning nearby and heard the shouting, appeared in the doorway. Seeing Ilara on the floor, he didn't even hesitate. He walked right past the stunned billionaire, knelt beside her, and took her hand. And he started to hum. The familiar melody cut straight through the storm in her mind. Her ragged breathing started to even out. Her clenched fists slowly uncurled. She looked up at Leo, her anchor in the chaos, and then at her father, whose face was a mask of horrified awe. With Leo's quiet strength beside her, Alara finally found her voice. She told her father everything about the nanny, the loneliness, the feeling of being completely abandoned. And then she looked at Leo and spoke her final truth. "It's him, Dad. His kindness did what all your money couldn't. I love him." In that single moment, something inside Conrad Sterling finally broke. He looked at the janitor and didn't see a threat or an employee. He saw the man who had saved his daughter. He saw his own monumental failure, the emotional neglect that was the real sickness. His pride crumbled, replaced by a wave of shame and, at last, humility. He offered Leo money, a better job, anything he wanted. Leo politely refused. "All I want is your daughter's happiness, sir, and the chance to be a part of it." The weeks that followed were a complete revelation. With their love no longer a secret, Alara and Leo blossomed. The class barrier that seemed so unbreakable just melted away in the face of their genuine connection. Alara, finally free from the ghosts of her past, started to find real joy in the world. She encouraged Leo to pick up his guitar again, and soon the mansion's oppressive silence was filled with his music. They definitely faced snickers and stares from Alara's high society friends, but their judgment was powerless against the couple's quiet confidence. Months later, in a small, crowded club downtown, Leo stood on a stage with a guitar in his hands. He wasn't a janitor or a billionaire's pet project. He was a musician. Alara watched from the front row, her face glowing in the stage lights, her eyes filled with a love and peace that once seemed impossible. Leo leaned into the mic, his eyes finding hers in the crowd. "This is a new song," he said. "It's about how sometimes the quietest melody can heal the loudest pain." As he started to play, the crowd just faded away. It was only him and her. The janitor had done the impossible. He hadn't just helped the billionaire's daughter sleep, he had awakened her soul. Together they had built a new world where a person's worth wasn't measured by their bank account, but the kindness in their heart. A love story that had become the most valuable asset the Sterling name had ever known. If this story touched your heart, please hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories just like this one, and share it with someone who might need a reminder that true wealth isn't about what you have, but who you have to share it with.